Thanks to Nikon Australia who have sent me out one of these cameras. In this video we're going to check out the new Nikon Z50. Now I know a lot of you who subscribe to the channel are into landscape photography and you're probably more than happy with the camera that you have. But a bit like me, because you are actually into photography, you have family or friends who are just starting out, they come to you for a recommendation of what sort of camera they should get. Or perhaps you have work colleagues or maybe a neighbour who are planning an overseas trip and they want a small but compact camera that they can go travelling with. I know the answer depends a lot on what sort of photos they're going to shoot, but the Nikon Z50 ticks a lot of boxes. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you need a website, a domain or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. I'll be mentioning some of the specs, but this isn't going to be a comprehensive tech review. There's plenty of channels out there that do that sort of thing. On this channel, it's all about photography adventures, sharing my experience actually shooting with the camera. So let's go out and find a location to shoot. By the way, I'm actually vlogging with the Z50 right now, and I'm going to be shooting most of the video with that camera, unless the Z50 is actually in the shot. But you can check that out in the bottom corner of the video. The Z50 is Nikon's first APS-C mirrorless camera with the Z mount. Of course, they launched the Z mount with the Z6 and Z7 last year. So this camera could be considered the little brother to the full-frame Z mirrorless cameras. Entry-level cameras can sometimes feel cheap and low quality, but that's the first thing that impressed me when I picked up the Z50. It immediately feels more than just an entry-level camera. Nikon have taken advantage of the fact that the camera is mirrorless with an APS-C sensor and made it small and light, which is ideal for travel photographers who are looking for a light kit. An issue with smaller cameras is that they can sometimes feel a little bit awkward to hold and handle, but that's not the case with the Z50. Nikon have managed to give it this really nice grip that accommodates the battery. It's really easy to grab and feels nice in the hand. It's perfect if you're walking around holding the camera for long periods of time. Currently there are two DX lenses, what Nikon refer to as their crop sensor range, that are available with the Z50. The 16 to 50mm, which I'm currently vlogging on now, and the 50 to 250mm lens. Both lenses have a collapsible design, so they take up less room when not in use. Just give the lens a quarter turn and you're ready to shoot. I think this is a great design because it means that the lenses are nice and compact and take up less space in your camera bag. Again, ideal when traveling. The sensor has 20.9 megapixels, which is probably the sweet spot for what this camera is intended to be used for. Whether it be pet or people portraits, wildlife or macro, travel or even landscape, combined with the kit lenses, I've been really impressed with the quality of images I've been able to capture. So I'm down by the lake here to see whether I can find some wildlife to shoot. There's some pink and grey galahs that are flying about. You might be able to hear them in the background. On the Z50, I've got the 50 to 250mm lens, which is around about the equivalent of an 80 to 400mm lens on a full frame camera. So hopefully that'll get me nice and tight in on these birds. Now while the camera itself doesn't have IBIS, each of the kit lenses has what Nikon refer to as vibration reduction, which helps keep the image nice and steady when I'm taking the shot. Very handy when I'm holding the camera in my hands. I've got a little bit of cloud cover this morning, so I haven't got as much light as I'd like. So as far as settings are concerned, at the moment I'm at 1/1000th of a second, but sometimes I'm changing that to 1/2000th of a second. My aperture is as open as I can get it at f6.3, and my focal length is somewhere between 200 and 250. I've set my ISO to auto, so the camera handles that, and I'm managing to get a few nice shots. Nikon have included a D-pad on the back of the camera for navigation, but as well as that, they've made the LCD screen on the back a touch screen. They've also included these touch buttons on the right-hand side that allows you to zoom in and out and also change what's displayed on the screen quite quickly. I like this addition. Despite the camera being relatively small, they've made the screen on the back nice and large. It's easy to see. I can use the touchscreen to position my focus point. I can change a range of settings like white balance and focus mode very quickly. I can also use the touchscreen to navigate the menus. I can browse through my images, pinching in and out to zoom. I found all of this really intuitive. The Z50 uses a slightly smaller and lighter battery than the battery in the Z6 and Z7, which helps keep the weight down. Nikon rate the battery at 300 shots, but I was easily able to get more than that. But I'd recommend picking up a second battery. Another nice feature is you can recharge the battery in the camera itself through USB. Nikon are clearly targeting vloggers with this camera, with stabilization in the lenses, the ability of attaching an external mic through a 3.5mm jack, and also a screen that flips around 180 degrees. Let's talk about this flip down screen. If you were to ask 3 different photographers what sort of screen they'd want, you'd probably get 3 different answers. I'm not a fan of a screen that flips up because it's challenging having an EVF and you're not able to mount a microphone to the top. Screens that flip to the side can be a little bit awkward. They can change the balance of the camera, and I'd miss not being able to turn the screen facing up when shooting at waist height. Really helpful with street photography. Nikon have designed the screen on the Z50 to flip down, and for selfie stills and short videos that's fine because you can just hold the camera, it's that light. But I was interested in working out a way to mount the camera to a tripod so it's easy to hold and set down while still being able to see the screen. I've come up with this workaround where I've used a 1/4 inch bolt and a 1/4 inch coupling nut. While for vlogging it's important to be able to have a screen that is front facing, after you've checked composition, focus and exposure, you're not monitoring the screen the entire time. So this works quite well. After doing some research, I discovered that a company called Small Rig have designed a plate and also a cage for the Z50 that allows you to mount the tripod so that it is to the side of the screen. I'm really interested in checking these out. According to the site, these will become available in mid-December. Nikon have included a whole host of other video features in the Z50, like simple time-lapse recording as well as electronic vibration reduction in the camera itself, which works with the vibration reduction in the lenses for nice, stable footage. You can record 4K at 24, 25 and 30 frames a second, as well as 1080p at up to 120 frames a second, which is really fantastic because I can capture B-roll of a scene in slow motion to help tell my story. So I've come down to the beach to see whether I can catch a seascape with the Nikon Z50. I've got it here mounted to the travel tripod that I own. It's one of the things about having such a light camera and lenses. You can get away with without having a really heavy duty tripod. So it means that your entire kit, your camera lens, your tripod, your entire camera bag is going to be lighter, so therefore you're much more mobile and it just improves the experience of capturing images generally. So I've got the camera mounted in portrait mode. I don't have an L bracket for the camera, so I've just got it to the side. So as the light fades, I've had to open up the aperture a little bit. I've got it now at f11. Still gives me plenty of depth of field to make sure that everything's in focus. And my shutter speed is now up to ½ a second, which is pretty good because as the waves get closer to me, they actually start to slow down. So ½ a second to 3/4 of a second, it's probably going to be pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to play around here a little bit longer and take a few more shots. And then I've just spotted another composition with a rock pool that I'd like to catch while there's still a little bit more light and this beautiful color in the sky. I've used the autofocus in a range of different scenarios. I found it quick and very accurate. I'm really impressed. It's similar to the autofocus on the Z6 and Z7. For stills, I've set up back button focusing, and for video, I use a combination of the autofocus and manual focusing. The camera tracks selected subjects really well. There are settings where you can fine-tune it, but I found the defaults work fantastically. I really like the fact that Nikon have used the Z mount with the Z50 and been consistent across their entire mirrorless range. It means that people that are just getting into photography can do so at a lower price point with the Z50, and if they do want to eventually move to full frame, they can start investing in full frame lenses, the FX lenses, and use them with the Z50, and then when the time's right, upgrade the body to say a Z6 or a Z7 or whatever else is available at the time. It's exactly how I got into full frame myself. I started off with the D70, which is a DX camera, cropped sensor camera, and I invested in a few full frame lenses and eventually bought the D800. One of my favourite features on the camera is the toggle switch, which allows you to swap between stills mode and video mode. I consider this really important for any hybrid camera because it allows you to have different exposures for stills and video, making it a lot quicker and a lot easier to switch between the two. The Z50 is a great camera. It's got great image quality in a body that doesn't feel cheap. The camera is easy to use with its intuitive interface, button layout, and menus that allow you to access and quickly change settings. It's a joy to use, which is really important to the shooting experience. Plus, it has heaps of features that supports your creativity as you learn and become more confident with your photography. So if you're looking for an APS-C camera, whether it's your first camera or something small and light for travel, or even as a vlogging camera, I recommend you check out the Z50. I want to thank Nikon Australia for sending me out the camera so I could get some hands-on experience with it. I'm actually considering using the Z50 as my longer-term vlogging camera and also as a backup option for travel when I want to keep things nice and light. I just want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you're getting into photography, not only do you need a camera, but it's a good idea to have a place where you can share the images you capture. Social media is great, but a website belongs to you. You control the content and the way that it looks. Squarespace is an excellent platform for building your website. I've been using it for years on all my websites because it's just so easy to use. Their templates are beautiful and you can customize each template to get the look and feel you're after. You can get a website up and running really quickly. Just select a template, add a page, and drag and drop your content. Recently, I've been using their mobile app to make updates to my website, so I can make changes quickly, anytime, anywhere. You can get a free month trial at squarespace.com, which will give you heaps of time to get your website up and running. And if you do decide to go ahead with a website, go to squarespace.com/Andrew Marr for 10% off your first purchase, or use the offer code Andrew Marr. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and supporting me in creating content for this channel. I'd love to know what your thoughts are of the Z50. Are you considering picking one up? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you found the video helpful, please give it a like and share it around. And if you are actually new to the channel, then please consider checking out some of my other videos and subscribe so you don't miss out on my next photography adventure. But until next time, guys, thanks very much for watching.